Okay, it's about that time, everybody. So let's go ahead and get started. This is SME's webinar on Qlik Insight Bot, and it's about bridging the gap between conversational and visual analytics. So before we jump in, just know if you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat bot, and we'll do our best to answer those at the end of this webinar. All right, so let's jump in. In this webinar, we're going to cover a couple different things. To start with, we're really going to talk first about what makes Insight Bot a true revenue generator, why it's really a game changer when it comes to things like natural language generated analytics. We're going to show you a great demo of the true potential and power of InsightBot, give you some use cases to think about along the way, and finally, we're going to talk about why it helps your organization create a data literate culture and to increase adoption rates. All right, so before we do that, let's talk a little bit about SME. So who are we? Well, really what we are is a data analytics integration firm. And it was founded in 2011 by our CEO, Chris Moyer. And we work with a whole bunch of different services, including BI integration, data governance, data literacy, as I mentioned, project management, and we also deal with hosting. So SME actually works with a variety of different verticals that you can see here, starting with retail and entertainment. You can see some ones there. We work locally. We're in the Tampa area, so we work with University of South Florida as well as a few others. Energy and utility, that's where our CEO got his start, was in the utility verticals and space. So there's a bunch of companies that we work with there. Obviously, your FinServ, some different professional services along the way. Definitely healthcare and life sciences, and you can see a couple of our former, past, or current clients there. Ag business, as well as manufacturing, and obviously public sector and education. All right, so you have two hosts today for your webinar. Myself, that's Brian Masseri, and we also have George Barrett, who's going to be doing the demo in just a few short minutes. So a little bit about myself. I'm a bit of a data literacy specialist here at SME. It's what I focus on the majority of my time. Located in the Tampa business office, but I've been a business owner myself here for the past 8 years. I started working with SME in 2018, and I'm a former firefighter as well as married and with an 8-year-old daughter. So with George, he's our solutions engineer, which is why he's the perfect guy to give you guys a fantastic demo. Graduated the University of Florida, which I try not to hold against him because I went to UGA. He started working for SME in 2015, and he's got a extensive background in BI, database administration, and interface design. Okay, so now that we've gotten through that, let's just do a brief overview of InsightBot before we get to that demo that George is going to give us. So let's start with one of the biggest points of InsightBot, and that's that it's built on the Associative Engine. Now, actually, InsightBot was CrunchBot up until the beginning of this year when Qlik acquired them. But that was actually really made things pretty easy because CrunchBot was already a TED or TED, trusted extension developer. One of the biggest things, you guys are already familiar with this because the majority of you who are watching this webinar are already going to be Qlik Sense users, is that it's built on top of the Associative Engine, which just means that we can use the same open APIs and that Qlik was already using to build other core products. So it makes it very easy to build on top of. And it's really unique in its ability to start the experience conversationally and then transition to a visual experience for deeper understanding and discovery. And that's really what George is going to be showing you. Hey, how do I start with a question and how do I type that in, or in some cases just speak out loud, and then really transition to seeing those visuals that we're all used to seeing inside of Qlik Sense. But George will show you some really cool things that go along with it. So I don't want to kind of give away what he's going to show you in the demo. Now, another thing that makes InsightBot very powerful is the use of its natural language insights. So Qlik Insight Bot provides an AI-powered conversational analytics experience, which gives people a faster and easier way to ask questions, generate insights, and make data-driven decisions using natural language. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. NLP automatically trains itself over time. So this is really important. Not only can you ask questions, but InsightBot is actually going to get smarter over time with the questions that you're asking and provide even more powerful insights along the way. And then your natural language generation is more about, it's not only about what is happening, but why, and really where to go next. So also a very powerful part of the natural language insights. And these insights include everything from auto-generated charts, you can see it there, and interpretations, key drivers, period over period calculations, predictions for measures, and comparative analysis. And honestly, that's not even all of it. George will actually dive in a little bit deeper here in a second to show you even more of the ways that it's able to be included with the insights. Now, one of the things I told you that I am passionate about is driving data literacy or in building data literate cultures in a lot of different organizations. And Insight Bot is uniquely positioned to really help with this because number one, it helps reach more users. So for larger corporations, there's statistics out there from Gartner and also from different reports that Qlik had done that show that your adoption rate of using the BI tools that are already in place can sometimes be as low as 20 or 30%. Well, obviously, we want to change that, and Insight Bot is a great way to do that. So, in your organization, if you're thinking, wow, we already have Qlik, but we're not using to its full potential, or we have X amount of licenses, but we only on a given day are seeing people log in at 10, 15, 20, even 30% of that. Well, Insight Bot is a great way to raise adoption because you can reach more users by simply making it in places where people are already asking questions, be it in places like Slack or Microsoft Teams or other places that you wouldn't normally think of using ClickSense. It definitely delivers AI to the edge of the organizations, right? Getting down to those end users. So it's not about only having the people who are maybe at the C-suite or C-level be able to ask questions, or maybe the people who are creating the actual visualizations, but also having people that are not necessarily interacting day to day with it, be able to go in and ask questions of the data and get real answers. And obviously, it's going to help you find insights even faster because you actually don't have to be in a specific app to find that, or even down to the worksheet to find an answer. You can actually, again, like I said, you could be outside of Qlik's, the hub, and being able to see it like on the initial login for ClickSense. You can be in Slack and Teams, and there's even integrations with Amazon's Alexa as well that are coming down the pike. So there's just a lot of ways for people to ask questions without having to specifically know where to go find that answer, because you can start, as again it was saying, conversationally, and then drill down into the visual part of it, because once you're in Insight Bot, it'll show you the visualization, but then you can click on it and actually go right into it. And that's really what George is going to be focusing on here. So without further ado, we're going to switch over, and George, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, and if you'd be so kind to give everybody a demo of Insight Bot.
Thanks, Brian. So let's take a tour of the Qlik Insight Bot. First, let me make sure that it's awake. Looks like we're good to go. I'll start with something simple. I want to find out what my total sales are. So we're going to get a few things here with just one question. The first is the KPI that we asked for, which is total sales. The Insight Bot has also prepared a line chart of my sales over time. Now, a game-changing feature that comes with Insight Bot is the ability to generate advanced insight narratives from a single question. This helps me analyze my data in ways that I wouldn't originally think of, or in faster ways than without the Insight Bot. Finally, it also provides some time series filters that I can use to further analyze my metric. We'll come back to this in a minute, but I want to continue. What if I wanted to see my sales across my categories, and I wanted to see it as a pie chart? Notice how Insight Bot continues the analysis that we just asked it. It plots sales by category in the pie chart that I requested. As we continue to dig deeper, Insight Bot is right there with us to give us more advanced insights. Now, what if I wanted to look at only a slice of my data? In this case, I want to look at how my Norristown store is performing. Two things I want to point out here. The first is how Insight Bot is able to filter down my data to Norristown just by me asking it. The second is how I phrased the question. I didn't have to say that Norristown was a store. I just asked it a standard question. That's the power of Insight Bot's natural language processing. But let's take it one step further. What if I wanted to see Norristown sales compared to another store? Let's say Newark. And just like that, InsightBot was able to understand that I wanted to compare two field values for my sales metric and present not only the comparison sales, but also some percentages. So Brian, can you think of some use cases where this functionality would come in handy?
Yeah, man, I can think of 100. From a sales perspective, this would be great for comparing products, promotions, categories, or even if you think about it, customer demographics. If you have access to that data, the cool thing is all your attributes are now at your disposal, and easy to compare, which really, ties back, George, to the Associative Engine and having all that data indexed for easy access from the Insight Bot. So, you ready to continue with the demo?
Sure, Brian. Another cool thing about the InsightBot is the availability for it to alert me when certain thresholds are met. In this case, let's have it alert if orders reach 1 million. I can go ahead and make it reoccurring as well. So now InsightBot will now notify me through my desired channel when orders reach $1 million. One of the best features about InsightBot is that you can link it to your Skype, Slack, or Microsoft Teams to extend it beyond your Qlik environment. Pretty neat if you ask me. Hey Brian, do you want to jump in here and talk about a use case where this may seem valuable?
Yeah, definitely, George. I think the alerting capabilities mixed with the channel's integrations can really help companies, that need to make fast decisions on near real-time data. So let's think about it. If I am the supply chain and my inventory is getting low, InsightBot can be there to let me know. Or if I'm in a utility or healthcare company, InsightBot can work with my IoT data to let me know if equipment is about to fail, or so I can take immediate action. It really helps to reduce that time to insight.
All right, let's get back into it. So I'm not sure if you've noticed, but every time I ask InsightBot a question, it lets me know which Qlik app I'm pulling my data from. So let's ask another question. So up until this point, it has been using the Retail Convenience app, but this time it's pulling from the Workforce Performance app. The great thing about having InsightBot in the hub is that you have a seamless process of asking all of your data questions. And of course, you can customize this behavior as well so that you're always getting the right answers. I'd also want to point out that you can access the InsightBot from the apps themselves, not just the hub. So let's get back into the demo. From the hub, I can have InsightBot list all of the apps that it's synced with. And I can select these apps as well. So let's do Retail Convenience. When I select an app, InsightBot prepares a summary of all of my key metrics from that app. Now that I have selected one, I can also view the master items that are in the app. When I choose a dimension, it breaks it out based on a measure. I can choose the measure in the InsightBot training console and say which measures to be used here. Likewise, I can also select my measures. This is similar to my first question. Now that we have one selected, I can break it out in a time series like quarter over quarter. I can also see my master visualizations. So you can really leverage master items to their fullest potential in the InsightBot. In addition to training InsightBot on master items, you can also train it on KPIs. So now that we've seen the InsightBot handle natural language and simple use case, let's see its full potential. What if I wanted to know the months where I had the most gross profit? Simply type show most gross profit. And would you look at that? The Insight Bot is able to rank dimensions based on measures simply by saying most. And as with other questions, I continuously get advanced insights as I go. What if I wanted to ask a similar question but add a filter as well? Show me bottom 7 stores for fuel. Now that is pretty impressive. Do you think I would be able to filter by a measure? Like, what if I wanted to see my stores with more than 700 employees? And it can. So you can really get deep, thorough analysis just by conversing with the Insight Bot. Now, before I wrap up, I want to show probably my favorite feature of the Insight Bot: forecasting. So Insight Bot comes with a little bit of predictive analytics built into it, giving us a nice glimpse of what our future has in store for us. So you can see that the Insight Bot is a great addition to the Qlik family. With the help of conversational analytics, we can take our analysis to the next level. Back to you, Brian.
Okay, appreciate it, George. Thank you so much for that awesome demo. Now, what I want to do is go ahead and cover some of the questions that came in during this webinar. If you didn't get a chance to enter your question, or you're thinking about it after, or even if you're watching this on replay, don't worry. I'm going to show you in just a second the best way to reach out to us and ask all your other questions. So hopefully what all of you are thinking right now is, if you can see the little bot saying, what could Insight Bot do for my organization? If nothing else, what George and I really wanted to accomplish with this webinar is just get your brain firing, thinking about all the ways, all the use cases that Insight Bot could really help you at your organization. And I'm sure you got a lot of ideas firing now. It really is an amazing game changer tool for Qlik Sense. So let's go ahead and cover two of the questions that came in though during this webinar, and they're good ones, so I want to make sure I cover them. First one, can you customize the responses that Insight Bot gives you? Yeah, absolutely. You can set up custom keywords and phrases to ask Insight Bot and have it return any number of combinations of sentences or fields and aggregations, that you set for it. This will allow you to get all the information that you need out of Insight Bot without having to ask it, multiple questions. So that's the first question. The second question, also a really good one, I'm sure this is what a lot of people are asking, is, can I add the visualizations that Insight Bot creates for me to my own Qlik Sense applications? Yeah, definitely you can. And that's definitely important, right? Because you don't want to be thinking, hey, I got all these great insights from Insight Bot, and then they just disappear after you're done having that, chat or conversation. So all the visualizations that Insight Bot prepares for you are available in your community sheets of your app. So you can interact with them or move them into your own sheets whenever you want. So they are not lost. That would be awful. So yeah, really good question, but it's something that comes up a lot. With that said, again, if you didn't get your questions answered, or we didn't have time for it today, or you just thought of it afterwards, no big deal. Here's a couple different ways of connecting with us. First and foremost, top right corner there, email info@smesgroup.com. Great way to reach out to us if you want to talk to myself, George, or any number one of the SME team members. We will be happy to connect with you and move the conversation along. You can also reach us on LinkedIn. I highly recommend that. George and myself work a lot to produce videos, as well as some of the other team members, and we put them out on LinkedIn. We publish them on our SME page, so that's a great place to go and connect. Follow us on there. You can also reach out personally to myself and George, and we'll be happy to talk to you on LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time, guys, so please do. We are headquartered in the Tampa Bay area, so if you happen to be around this area or traveling to this area, or even over in the Orlando area, going to the parks and different theme parks and stuff like that, we're really not that far away. That's only about 70 miles to our east. We use Orlando as our staycation area all the time. So Tampa Bay, Orlando, Central Florida, hey, reach out to us. We'd love to have you over at the office or maybe meet up. And just discuss how we can help you and your organization further. And of course, finally, you can reach us on the web at any time, smesgroup.com. So, for myself and George, I want to say thanks for hanging out with us today, learning about Insight Bot. Again, I hope your brain is firing with all sorts of possibilities and ideas. And with that, I will say goodbye and have a great day. See you later. Bye.